Welcome to episode number 149 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording live on YouTube on July 10, 2016, after taking the previous week off for July 4th, Independence Day weekend. There has been a lot of news. We are going to cover a lot of stuff today. Facebook Live leads the stories we'll be talking about: the Philando Castile story, the fallout, what it means for journalism. Donald Trump's Trollmaster we'll be talking about. Facebook secret messages, red crosses, racist poster. Snapchat goes permanent. Washington Post under Jeff Bezos' leadership. A lot more. We start off with the worst, and I've already tipped our hand. BL, what was the worst story?
Well, I didn't really know whether I should put this in the best or the worst this week because it really is both. But what happened this week in the world, in the country, the sad news that we all saw unfolding live, has, in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinion, changed journalism forever. And what happened when Philando Castile's girlfriend, Diamond Reynolds, had the presence of mind and had the app on her phone and knew how to use it and decided to immediately broadcast right after the police killed Castile. Right then and there is a change that is pretty remarkable. But she had the composure that was really mind-boggling. I feel that she'll end up with a Pulitzer Prize for reporting. And what happened was that, and what she said afterwards was that she told the LA Times that she said she just wanted to make sure, I have her quote here somewhere, she wanted to make sure that no matter how it was spun, no matter what it was that happened after that, she said, I wanted everyone in the world to know that no matter how much the police tamper with evidence, how much they stick together, I wanted to put it on Facebook and go viral so that the people could see it. And that indeed is what happened. More than 5.5 million people saw it. And about a half an hour after, maybe an hour after she put it on Facebook, where she, by the way, goes by the name of Lavesh, and she only shows her content to friends, Facebook took it down. And then an hour later, they put it back up with the warning that it contained graphic content. And clearly, they are really wrestling with, a very complex and very thorny issue about how much violence should be shown and under what instances it should be shown. And so Zuckerberg made a statement on his Facebook page, and he said, well, I hope we never have to see another video like Diamond's. It reminds us why coming together to build a more open and connected world is so important and how far we still have to go. And, this is today's new reality. And if Facebook is really going to dominate the news, this is how it's going to happen. So on July 8th, which is, I mean, you would have thought this might have existed before. I think they thought that they were going to see a lot of cat videos and people dumping ice on each other's heads. I don't think they ever thought they were going to see suicides and murders on Facebook Live. And I think this came as a bit of a shock to them, but their live video standards now say one of the most sensitive situations involves people sharing violent or graphic images of events taking place in the real world. In those situations, context and degree are everything. I couldn't agree more with that. For instance, if a person witnessed a shooting and used Facebook Live to raise awareness or find the shooter, we would allow it. However, if someone shared the same video to mock the victim or celebrate the shooting, we would remove the video. Live Facebook, they said, live video on Facebook is a new and growing format. We've learned a lot in the last few months, and we'll continue to make improvements and in this experience whenever we can. The line is very blurry. It can't be left to an algorithm. And what happened again when the shots rang out in Dallas, a Facebook user named Michael Bautista risked his life to film what was going on and simultaneously take questions from his followers. And more than 4 million people watched one of his videos, including Mark Zuckerberg. And so, what happened as a result of Diamond Reynolds' video is Democratic you know him better than me, Dave, Democratic Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton said in no uncertain terms that Philando Castile, who's a well-respected 32-year-old school cafeteria manager, killed during a traffic stop, ended up dead, at least in part, because he was black. He said, would this have happened if those passengers, the driver and the passengers, were white? I don't think it would have, he said. Forced to think all of us in Minnesota are forced to kind of racism exists. Nobody should be shot and killed in Minnesota for a taillight being out of function, the governor said. Nobody should be shot and killed while seated in their car. I'm heartbroken. What I wonder is, would he have been so quick to say that if the video hadn't existed and if everybody hadn't already seen it? I seriously doubt that he would have, because that hasn't been the history in any of these situations. It's been about, you know, waiting months before an thinking things are going to calm down, I guess, waiting months for an investigation to be made and then, you know, saying gobbledygook about it. So it's a very difficult situation, but in my opinion, it changed the face of journalism. It changed, it made a new reality for us. And it's both exciting and terrifying to me.
Yeah, I mean, we had this discussion a couple of episodes ago about a shooting in Chicago where a guy was recording, basically doing a tour of his neighborhood on Facebook Live, and was shot and was killed on his own live broadcast. At that time, you said, I was kind of ambivalent, but you thought that Facebook should take it down. It is a difficult situation. This is a different situation than that, obviously, and I agree that, I mean, it's amazing the presence of mind and composure that she had to actually use the app and get the aftermath of the shooting of her boyfriend, her fiance, and subsequent death live on broadcast. It seemed to me a defensive measure to
Absolutely.
make sure that nothing else would happen to her, and as well as a documentary measure to...
And her 4-year-old child, who was in the back seat of the car. And I think the thing that broke my heart and everybody's heart who heard it was when the little girl said, "Be strong." I can't say it. "Be strong, mommy. I'm right here with you."
Yeah.
A 4-year-old had to say that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Oh my God.
But absolutely tragic, and I think, I mean, it's right that there's very little. I mean, the video is compelling in a horrific kind of way, that you see what happens. This guy had been pulled over 52 times before.
Yeah, for nothing.
52 times for misdemeanor, not even misdemeanor, just minor traffic violations or whatever.
Not even a moving violation.
How
And
many
he paid
times have you been pulled over in your
$6,500.
life?
Yeah.
Your life,
Right. This was in 4 years. They pulled him over 50 times.
right? So,
Mind-blowing.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think it does. It does definitely change the way things will be reported. Live breaking events will be reported. It will be interesting to see how...
We had wondered if that would happen. Remember when we discussed it, we thought it's only a matter of time until that happens, and there you go.
It will be interesting to see how news organizations deal with this, but also, I mean, it's citizen reporting is going to be a significant aspect of how we understand events in the future, and this is an example of citizen journalism. Even if she clearly didn't intend it to be, but you know, one of the impressions I came away with is Facebook Live is where Black people go to get justice. This is demonstrating. She clearly wanted to demonstrate and document what had happened.
Well, the other part of it, though, is that she was very cogent and she was very calm, and it was very clear what was happening. You don't know whether the rest of citizen journalism is going to be as clear or as well done or as fact-based as this clearly was. So there's a lot of gray areas here, and there's nobody to vet. You know, there was no one between us and her. There was no anchor. There was no cameraman. There was just us and her, and him dying. I mean, oh my God. It's so different than the cell phone videos that you see of these other situations that it was really startling. And, you know, I watched all the things from Dallas. I mean, horrifying, absolutely horrifying, but nothing that was as, I don't know the right word, as real as her being in that situation and talking to us in the way that she did. It stuck with me, I'll tell you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, nothing is as
Thank goodness.
there's no transition I can make that'll
None.
work. So let's just go into it. Donald Trump, there was a interesting story about Donald Trump's social media manager in the Daily Beast by Olivia Nuzzi. And it's basically a profile of this guy. His name is Dan Scavino. It details, personalities from political presidential campaigns get profiled all the time, and this is one of them. Details how he met Trump as a caddy on a golf course, became starstruck with Trump, and ended up working for him when Trump bought the golf course that he caddied at. But this is the man that's ostensibly responsible for sharing a video of Syrian refugees in Germany allegedly rallying in support of ISIS. That was a hoax. It was actually footage from a 2012 protest that had been repurposed by fringe right and anti-refugee propaganda. He posted a video that implied, absent any evidence, that Ted Cruz had an affair with his former staffer. And
That
then,
was a
of
good
course,
one.
yeah, and then of course was the Star of David tweet, and that was kind of detailed by Anthony Smith's Mike.com story, and he kind of demonstrates that Scavino mines online hate groups for images and messages to use for the Trump campaign, and then when they're called out, the defense is, well, we didn't create it.
Yeah, that was a good one, right?
Right. So the headline of this piece on Scavino asks, how long can a social media troll like Scavino hang on to his job? The answer is as long as he wants, because these aren't mistakes. It's
right,
a strategy. Exactly. It's like, so.
Exactly. And speaking of strategy, Microsoft had to apologize for a ridiculously embarrassing recruitment email that they sent to college students. And there's huge competition for good interns, and they make a lot of money. So what they this is from a Business Insider story by Matt Weinberger, and they were like making this really bizarre effort to look hip and recruit young interns. So they promised dranks and noms and other tasty buzzwords at the party for bi interns. Bi, for those who don't know, is a term of endearment. But the best line by far was, "Hell yes to getting lit on a Monday night. Cheat sheet for the older folks in the crowd, getting lit means partying." And it was about an event that's an annual conference in San Francisco that is called Internapalooza, and 3,000 would-be tech industry workers, mainly students, show up. So companies like Google and Facebook and Microsoft recruit their next generation of talent. They pay them as much as $7,500 a month because they're quality interns. So the apology, the inevitable apology, the email was poorly worded and not in keeping with our values as a company. We're looking into how this occurred. How do you think this occurred? And we'll take appropriate steps to address it. Then back in March, they had to apologize after they had these scantily clad dancers at the official game developers conference and alienated all the women in the audience. And then there's the never to be forgotten Steve Ballmer's sweaty and hysterical 2001 Monkey Boy dance video. It's on YouTube. If you want to talk about embarrassing, take a look at that.
Well, Red Cross was embarrassed this past
big week for embarrassment.
Exactly. This is from a Washington Post article by Peter Hawley. So the Red Cross had developed a safety poster to post up at swimming pools, and this particular poster was noticed by a woman in Salida, Colorado, and she pointed out some things that basically it sparked a controversy because of how it portrays the children in the safe swimming or safe pool use poster. So the poster is called "Be Cool, Follow the Rules," and it's used to illustrate safe and unsafe pool practices, and it depicts various children playing at the pool. But the white children are labeled as behaving in a cool way, while the children of color are depicted as defying pool rules and labeled not cool. The poster was from a safe swimming campaign from 2014. The Red Cross has apologized. They've discontinued production of the poster. They've removed it from the website and their app. They've instructed their partners to cease using the poster. There are kind of two types of racist individuals. There's malicious, deliberately hateful people, and then there's clueless white people. And this is an example of the latter. It just illustrates yet again the lack of diversity in communications professions, because come on.
Well, in the past, the Red Cross has handled their goofs and gaffes much better than that, actually. There was one, what did they tweet about? Getting drunk at a party, and people got upset and they said, oops, sorry, I mean, they made a joke of it and it was over. Move forward, we're done. But this is not a joking matter. This is a pretty serious matter at this moment in time. So we're talking about how Facebook is playing this huge role in communication. And they just did something that I have in the worst of the week, and that is adding secret messages to Messenger. It's another way for Facebook to add advertising to your online experience and learn more about your life, because if you think they're not spying on you, think again. And they're testing secret conversations, end-to-end encryption on some messages to be read only on the two mobile devices the user are communicating. And so, when you combine Facebook's WhatsApp with the secret messages, that's now more than 1 billion users, and it makes them an unstoppable force in messaging worldwide. They're run separately, but they certainly have a window into how people communicate, their habits and payments, digital entertainment, and much, much more. And they plan to roll it out by the end of the summer, and it's aimed at coaxing people to use Facebook even more. And someone could set up a message and it could disappear after a period of time, which might make them even more willing to exchange personal information. And people are going to have to opt in to use secret conversations, but it's going to have advertising. It will be very quickly going to have advertising, I am sure. It's another money maker for Facebook. There's nothing wrong with them making money, but do they really need to be in every conversation that we have? I don't think so.
So Facebook is adopting Snapchat features, and Snapchat is adopting Facebook features. Snapchat was in the news. This is from a Verge story by Casey Newton. They have introduced a new feature called Memories. The new feature allows users to save and share old snaps in a private archive inside the app. It's a social camera roll in which photos and videos can be organized, edited, and shared long after they're taken. So Snapchat is no longer ephemeral, apparently. So now you can save your stories to Snapchat servers and revisit them later in the memories section. Snapchat's explosive growth is due in large part to the fact that messages shared through it disappear. Early on, it was known as the sexting app for that very reason, right? But the ephemeral nature of the app is the very feature that has limited its growth, I think, among the people who can pay the bills, the brands, because who wants to make content that you can't use over and over again, right? So maybe this will help spur adoption of Snapchat as a marketing channel for more than just the high-profile consumer brands and media outlets, but at the expense of its user base, because as my millennial colleague said, then what's the point?
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But one thing I noticed this morning on my Facebook news feed, which I don't think is much of a news feed, it has now the same categories as Twitter's Moments. You can pick sports, election, day's news. That just went up there this morning. So, anytime any one of these platforms adds a feature, everybody else adopts it. And, Facebook it just cannot be all things to all people. There is going to be a limit. But I do have a nice thing to say about Facebook, and it's the way the New York Times is using it this election. The Times is using Facebook Live extensively because, of course, you won't see their news anymore because Facebook just got rid of news, screwed publishers, and when they changed their algorithm, which we didn't get to talk about in the last show because we took the week off, but now you're not seeing the things that have priority now are the messages from your friends and family, which is why I go to Facebook, so that is fine with me. But the New York Times has been very active using Facebook Live videos, and they're asking their readers to use a hashtag NYT election, and they want to know, they want submissions, and they want people to say, you know, who are you voting for, why, what are the issues that you're interested in, and then they're going to pick some of the better ones, and they're going to feature them on their channel, and they're going to bring those people in and interview them. And they want, you know, what they did that was brilliant was they had their video person demonstrate live how to use Facebook Live for those people who didn't know, who haven't done it, who might have been afraid to try it. She did a live demonstration of how to do it and stuck around afterwards and said she will make herself available to answer questions, any technical questions from readers. So I thought that was a brilliant move on the part of the Times, and I think that they will then be able to incorporate those Facebook Live videos into their coverage on their own website, because you aren't going to see them, you're not going to see them on Facebook unless they pay to show them to you. But I just think that's a really brilliant way to go about using it and for the media to actually be heard.
Yeah, well, what Facebook does promote is video, so that could be the way around, and that's likely why the New York Times is doing what they're doing. Is the way around the algorithmic change is to do a lot of video and hijack that algorithm rather than the people
Pretty
algorithm.
smart. I thought that was pretty smart.
So some more innovation at a news organization. There's a New York Magazine article by Gabrielle Sherman that looked in depth at the Washington Post and what they are doing under the leadership of Jeff Bezos. It's a really long article. I won't go into it.
I read it.
In depth here. It's well worth the read, though. But the first new Post product that I'll just share one example here of from the story. The first new Post product that Bezos put his stamp on was the paper's tablet app. So before the engineers started work on the project in December of 2014, Bezos told them the story of how he created the Kindle. And he said he wasn't trying to replace the book. It was keeping the elements of what people like in a book, but making it easier to use, putting it in an easier format. Most newspaper apps, in Bezos' view, deluged readers with too much content and gave them, cognitive overhead, basically, and a terrible reading experience. So he suggested experimenting with layouts that would allow a reader to hover over articles as if from a drone. Not coincidentally, this was at the time that Amazon was talking about the Amazon Prime drone. It didn't completely work, but it completely didn't work. But it pushed the engineers into thinking of new ways to trying to than simply replicating a newspaper experience on screen. The app launched in November 2014 with the design that displays articles in tiles with large photographs and headlines like a series of magazine covers. Just before the app launched, the Post struck a deal to pre-install it on all Amazon Fire tablets. Amazon now offers free 6-month subscriptions to Prime members, and according to this article, the app is now 100,000 paid subscribers, and the Post has been the Post's biggest digital success story by far. I am one of those digital subscribers. I did get the free 6 months, and I am now paying for it. So and I use the mobile app every day. It's fantastic. It's just flipping through tiled images of the stories. It has an image about what the topic of the story is with a headline overlaid on it. It's very easy to use. I share a lot from it on social, so I think it's a big success. But the article itself, it's a really good read. We'll leave a link to it in the show notes.
I use it as well, and it must not have been a very hard negotiation for them to sell that to Amazon,
yeah, right?
So I saw something just for a little bit of levity because we need some. Um, charities are not at all known for having a sense of humor, to say the least, and it's questionable at this point when the news is as dreary and horrible and frightening as it is. What's going to make donors open their wallets? Like, you don't know what to give to first these days. You don't know who to help first. And can a charity dare to be funny or offbeat or even odd? Well, so here comes Sir Patrick Stewart, the Shakespearean actor. And,
Star Trek actor.
A Star Trek actor, excuse me. And that Patrick Stewart, and you can't make jokes about starving children or abused puppies, and that's why who hasn't rushed to change the channel when Sarah McLachlan's appeal for the ASPCA comes on. But so now you have Sir Patrick Stewart, and he's debuted his alter ego Cowboy Pat in hilarious videos and an album that's all sold out. It was $59.95, and I didn't know this, but he's actually a well-known philanthropist and a relief advocate. And so there's a video that's kind of like a late night infomercial, and he's singing. he's dressed in chaps and a cowboy outfit, and he's no gun though, and he's singing cowboy country classics like Rawhide and Buttons and Bodes and Don't Fence Me In, Ghost Riders in the Sky, and my favorite, Whoopie-I-A-Tie-O. And then there's like this voiceover, and they introduce Cowboy Pat as England's premier cowboy singer, who's now bringing the music stateside in this amazing collection. And you know what? It's an international refugee charity called International Rescue Committee. They focus on displaced families in Europe, the Middle East, and everywhere else. And wow, it's fun and it's wonderful. And I couldn't stop laughing, and we all need a laugh this week.
That's very clever. That's a very smart way of going about it too. Here's a story that's touched my heart, is close to my heart. It came from the Wall Street Journal blog, written by David Kalt. He's the founder of Reverb.com, which is a marketplace for instruments and gear. So it's a CEO to skeptics, liberal arts grads make the best tech hires. So he explains in his blog post that he used to preach the need for more students with computer science and engineering degrees to meet the demand for for programmers and for engineers. But his experience led him to realize he was wrong. And so looking back on the tech teams that he built, he realized, quote unquote, liberal arts degrees are by far the sharpest, the best performing software developers and technology leaders. Often these modern techies have degrees in philosophy, history, and music, even political science, which was my degree. So why has he changed his tune? Why does he believe this? Critical thinking. That the liberal arts degrees teach you critical thinking and curiosity. He said, the people who he hired who had liberal arts degrees had learned the technology on their own. Another quote from him: a critical thinker is a self-learning machine. Philosophy, literature, art, and history and language give students a thorough understanding of how people document the human experience. Technology is part of our human experience, not a replacement to it. It's non-computer science degree holders who can see the forest for the trees.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And you sure do have the tech gene. But, I love working with tech people, and I've yet to meet one, including you. Well, you're not a tech person. You're an all-around marketing person with a tech gene. But, I mean, I've never met anybody who works in tech and who doesn't also play in a band or play an instrument. And, it's the same kind of thinking. It really is. It's just the same kind of thing. And I love that about tech people. Anyway, one more thing that I thought was really quite extraordinary this week. It was from StoryCorps, and they had first published it in 2015, but it's even more important to see today. It's a story called Traffic Stop, and it's a true story about Alex Landau, who is an African-American man raised by adoptive white parents to believe that his skin color didn't matter. And he got pulled over by Denver police one night in 2009, lost his belief in the colorblind world that night, and he nearly lost his life. And his mother, Patsy Hathaway, tells what happened and how it affects him and her to this day. And it's a, a cartoon kind of a thing. It's quite extraordinary, and it's really a must-see in light of current events.
Yeah. Last of the good stories, I think.
Okay, go ahead.
NASA
I love
is
NASA.
crowdsourcing. They're crowdsourcing they want people to make films from their footage. They are this is from a No Film School post by John Fusco. So NASA and the Houston Cinema Art Society have teamed up to organize a short film contest. Cinespace offers filmmakers around the world a chance to share their works inspired by and created with actual NASA imagery. So they've got 50 years worth of universe exploration imagery to choose from to work with. Submissions are only required to feature at least 10% of NASA video imagery. The imagery can be obtained through the NASA image archives or other publicly available means like YouTube. So NASA is looking for short video, film, and digital media submissions of 10 minutes or less. The shorts can be of any genre or style. Prizes are grand prize $10,000, second prize $5,000, third prize $3,000. The contest will be judged by Richard Linklater, the famed
Wow.
director, and we'll put a link to the submission process in the show notes. The deadline is July 31st. So that's pretty
so
cool.
That's really cool. That brings us to apps, right?
It does indeed.
Yeah, we're running kind of late. I have one from Frog Designs, and it's a very interesting thing. Frog Designs is a virtual reality company, and they've teamed up with Stanford University Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery resident, whose name is Dr. Brian Pridgeon, and they developed VR Care. It's a disposable, open source VR headset designed to be used in hospitals, specifically to distract burn patients from the horrible, painful routine treatments, and they can be built for $10. They're not optimal in hospital settings because they're bulky and they require wires, and VR headsets, regular VR headsets, they're not waterproof. Burn victims are very susceptible to infection. So these are basically disposable and can, be made sterile to come in contact. There's also the matter of comfort. The last thing they want to be thinking about is a headset digging into their face when they're going through burn treatment. So, on the software end, the team tried out more than 60 different virtual reality games, actually laying down as a patient would to see what was playable from a hospital bed. And controllers are out for people who burn their hands, and the system won't work like a lot of VR games. So that's still under development, but it's helping people, and it's just pretty extraordinary.
Cool, very cool. Pinterest is going to let you use your camera to search for stuff and find real-life products online. This is from a Forbes article by Kathleen Tchaikovsky. So camera search will be available to users in the coming months. You can take a photo of an object in the real world and find that item or similar items, similar products on Pinterest. It uses automatic object detection, and that will be possible through visual search on the iOS devices, in which people use photos so you can use a photo to do a search query. The object detection tool allows users to find products within a pin's image. It has a cropping tool, so you can focus in on various aspects of an image. The automatic detection will be available to all users within the next few weeks, so look for that. It's pretty cool development.
That is. I would like to try that. You have another one, don't you?
I do. So yeah, this is from an article on the Next Web by Nate Swanner. It's a trafficker app. It's an app that crowdsources investigating human trafficking. it's a subject that you read about. It's horrific, and you feel like there's nothing you can do about it, right? But there's an app. You can download this app and take 4 pictures of a hotel room you're staying in, note the hotel's name and location, and then those images are added to a national database for authorities who can use it to cross-reference images they found online. So Traffic Cram already has 1.5 million images. The idea is to help identify where people are being held captive, and that can help authorities identify known routes for human traffickers when they're shuttling people around the globe. So there is actually something you can do about
That's
it.
pretty. I actually tweeted about that from my nonprofit client because I believe the organization that developed it is a not-for-profit organization. So the toy that I saw this week, Fuji has an Instax, I can't say the word, Instax printer that prints photos from your smartphone in 10 seconds. And it's expensive. It's $199. And the article was in The Verge, and they said it's the most fun and immediate way to turn the photos on your phone into something tangible. It prints them with like a little frame around them, and you can pick the frames, and the quality of it is, fairly decent. If you feel like you need that, that's a way to get it.
Very cool. So BL, you were mentioned in a
I was
article?
there was a very interesting article about a list of 103 genuine marketing thought leaders that you should follow, and that was in Marketing Cloud blog, and they led the story off by quoting one of my studies of how many people on on Twitter call themselves social media gurus and ninjas and all sorts of names. And I do this periodically. I guess it's time for me to do another one because they grow kind of like rabbits. It started out, there were like, I don't know, 1,300 of them. Now there's 18,000. And ninjas, warriors, people call themselves social media whores. God only knows who's going to hire them. It's quite hilarious. And so they quoted that, and then they named the people who actually know what they're talking about in social media. Didn't include me on the list. I don't know why.
That's hilarious. All right, let's wrap this up. Daily numbers, Facebook video shares. So we're just talking about Facebook. We spent much of the podcast talking about Facebook video. This is from BuzzSumo, a survey of millions of posts from the top 10,000 publishers on Facebook. The average shares of videos on Facebook have more than doubled since last August. The top 10,000 publishers have more than doubled their video output on Facebook during the past year. So that tells you a little bit about where people think they need to put their efforts in terms of content, what types of content they need to publish, and it tells you why, because Facebook's algorithm favors video.
And they want you to put all your content there and nowhere else. So that brings us to the end of episode 149 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And we will have links to everything we discussed, to the original stories that we were sourcing, on beyondsocialmediashow.com/149. And we would love it if you'd leave us a review there, which you could do at beyondsocialmediashow.com/love. David Erickson can be found online on Twitter. He's at D. Erickson. He blogs at both eStrategyblog.com and creativepr.com/blog, both of which are must-reads. Every time he publishes a newsletter, I learn something from him. I'm B.L. Lockman. I am at What's Next on Twitter. My blog is what'snextblog.com. I run maximum-plus.com for all things live streaming and video interviews. And you'll find the show at beyondsocialmediashow.com. On Twitter, we're at BS Media Show. And we have a newsletter, beyondsocialmediashow.com/newsletter. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Beyond Social Media Show YouTube channel. And we will be back next week, same time, same station. And right now, we thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.